few different pages.
Got it.
So that.
So how did you come up with that title?
I didn't. I was actually working on the flyer, and I think we're live, by the way. I was working on the flyer, and that title just came to me, and I'm like, "Ooh, okay, let me write it down." And I'm like, "This is it," and that is it.
It's easy peasy and effortless.
Yeah, without overthinking too much.
Mm-hmm.
So want to welcome everybody here. Thank you for joining us today. We have an amazing guest. She is incredible. I already see a lot of people joining us tonight. I would like for you to introduce yourself so that I do not, say what is not about you. And then we get started. Today it's gonna be, we're just gonna flow. We're gonna have an authentic, vulnerable, beautiful conversation. And I had another one with Erin last year, and it was just amazing. The level of breakthroughs that we had. And I actually prepared my notebook here tonight, and I'm ready to take notes because that's what happens. I feel with her, and I really it also helps me like be fully present here and remember that what I am doing by interviewing people like you, humans like you, is to learn from you. There is so much that I can learn, and so much that we can all learn together, in this moment when we connect our energies and spirit knows and downloads happen. So, Erin, I'm going to let you introduce yourself to our friends that are watching here. Go ahead. Thank you for being here.
Yes. Thank you everyone for being here. And Sylvia, thank you for having me on again. Yeah, our conversations are candid, real and raw, definitely not scripted. And I think a lot of information streams through beautifully that way. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Erin Chandler. I am an intuitive guide. I am a healer. I'm a psychic medium, an author, a teacher, and I'm also a bereaved mom of my daughter, Ava. And part of my journey originally started out with grief. And it's something that I teach others how to grieve with their loved ones instead of for them, teaching them mediumship and taking them through the actual process of grief and all of the support systems and networks that create the suffering, how to move through them and do it with the person that you have lost, who you've not really lost, people soon discover. So that's part of what I do, but that was actually only the beginning of my journey. Every month, Sylvia, it gets more wowed. I feel more, it just becomes, it unfurls more information, more knowledge, and it's moved into guiding and leading and gathering healers, intuitives, and light workers, helping them to really, it's to create a safe community. They have a safe place to land. We amplify our lights, we do activations, we do clearings, and those things are important because they're all intertwined. When you think about it, I am light, you are light, we're all light, but we tend to have been dimmed down by life experiences and belief systems and teachings that we're not. So it's just become one magical ride, and I'm thrilled. And I love it. I'm not gonna lie.
You know what I'm thinking about? I'm also called to create community, and I feel like we are stronger when we collaborate with one another, specifically women. So the fact that you are creating this community also reminds me that we have been trying to do this alone, and we have been working with the Western mentality of competition all the time. And I see this a lot, especially in our field, because we feel like we are stealing each other's customers or potential clients, when in reality we are just so unique, and what we can do for an individual is so unique, and should be, we should be giving each other a chance to do it, to be who we are, and to help one another grow and expand, rather than trying to dim our light, especially as light workers, right? So what an incredible thing to do to create community and to support one another, especially since it's so hard to, have guidance in this world,
Yes. And you could not have said that more perfectly, Sylvia. It's part of the old matrix, which was part of the title that you channeled and received, that was going to be the title of this thing. Most of these people probably who are joining us, what we were originally had a topic we were going to talk about a while ago. And then all of a sudden, Sylvia got that download yesterday. That's what we were talking about. And I thought, oh, that's perfectly aligned with what I've been kind of doing in the behind the scenes stuff. So you couldn't be more spot on. So part of the matrix is that we're in competition with each other, when the truth is, and it's so interesting, on my Facebook page, I want to say back in the summer, I did a channel and posted it, and it was about exactly what you talked about, Sylvia. We're sitting in this idea that we're each other's competition and one person is better than the other, when the truth is we're about to come into a whole other sphere. There is not enough of us. We need to celebrate each other. We need to raise each other up. No man is an island is 100% accurate. And it's especially hard, I have found, both in my journey and with everybody that we've been gathering, is the reality of being an intuitive in a world that has a matrix system where it's not real. There's all these labels associated with it. For us to be going out and standing in the world and being a medium or a psychic or an intuitive or an energy worker, that is hard enough. We're already facing a matrix system that we're trying to break down and change people's ideas and beliefs. Who on earth thought it was a good idea to make it a competition between any of us? That to me is actually the part that's crazy. We need each other. We're oracles for each other. Like, I love when I gather with intuitive women, it's like sparks fly, magic happens. You can feel the energy channeling, you get clear, and everybody has that experience. Why on earth are we not doing that? It is time to gather. There's so much heaviness and change right now. And I know you know all this stuff, Sylvia, but it's becoming so obvious and so prevalent right now in society that this matrix of systems that don't work for us, that are illusions and that are designed to keep us stuck, those are starting to crumble. And there's, thank goodness. So when you type the title, "We are the mothers of the real matrix," the real matrix is being one with God, source, spirit, universe, creator. My daughter, Ava, is saying, don't forget to talk about the labels. So when we talk about God, or when I talk about God, I'm not talking about religions. I'm not talking about anything man-made. I'm talking about creation. It's not a structured, when people say God, there's so many labels attached to it, and they're emotional labels. They're attached to trauma. They're attached to judgments. They're attached to shame. So if you ever wanted people to feel powerless and be disconnected, you make them think that they're not connected to God's source, spirit, creator. That's the number.
Let's wait a second.
Okay. I can carry away, girl. Bring me in.
Wait a second, because what you just said could be like the breakthrough of the night. Could be just, while you're speaking, like, I feel it. And I'm like, I am feeling it. I cannot deny that I am feeling the energy, the rush of energy, like what is happening. What you're saying is just resonating with every single cell of my being. What you said, I've struggled so much. And actually, Don Miguel Ruiz, with his books, The Four Agreements, The Mastery of Love, The Voice of Knowledge, explains that if you really want to take control over human beings, just make them think that they are not connected. That you said it.
Yeah. So here we are, the mothers of the real matrix are the individuals who are tapped into that connection and doing it in service. And the interesting thing about this is, I don't know if you've noticed this, and I know I'm not the only one who's noticed this, a lot of our spiritual communities and teachings sometimes are surrounded by things that keep us stuck in the matrix.
Isn't that incredible? Stop there. You said it again. Write it down. we get stuck in this spiritual foo-foo woo-woo, you know. I was talking to my husband today about lovemaking and how, you know, I had a client telling me, since I started developing mediumship, I'm not able to make love like before. I'm like, my goodness, you're the first time that you tell me something like that, right?
Should
But
be the opposite.
I
Right?
understand the dichotomy that happens inside of us. It's like we feel that is sinful. We didn't understand the concept of sin. And again, these books talk about it. Sin is anything that you do against yourself, by keeping yourself small, by not exploring your full potential. That is why what I see now is a sin. And I'm like, what a difference between that and what I was taught a sin was. So you said it, like sometimes we get just stuck into the matrix while we're doing this old archaic thought patterns. We're just living in this dead thought patterns that keep us there. And I feel like Don Miguel Ruiz, for example, talks about the fact that we are living in hell. Right now, we create our hell. This matrix is hell that we created, and we can just change that. And it starts from us, and it starts from within. And to me, it's just like, wow, it's so simple. And at the same time, you get more able to find those patterns once you embark on the journey.
Right. And I think I 100% agree with you. I want to insert one other thing into that. We're just going to roll here with whatever comes in, because I know magic happens when we have the ability to be in the present moment and flow, particularly when spirit's guiding it. So I have the stag showing up. So the stag is often has significant symbolism for me and through spiritual communities and those things. And so I just want to put this in there. So if you think about it, our society, when we're born, so if you think about your sweet baby boy, he is born into this as this beautiful clean slate. Yes, he's got all these different determining factors that he's come in with. He's got his life purpose and his mission. We've already chosen all the people we're going to be with. He has certain demeanors, certain things he's going to be good at. And then we enter him into our system. So if you think about it, most of the people who don't go within or don't go on a spiritual journey isn't necessarily because they're not willing to. It's because they have been indoctrinated since children into a system that tells us that we are inherently wrong, that stuff is mojo, wojo, whatever you want to call it. And it's repetitively done over and over and over. So if I look back at my journey, Sylvia, the absolute only reason that I have been able to come as far as I have, and I'm able to channel the information I have and to be this wide open, is because my daughter's death broke me, but that didn't actually break me. It broke the systems and illusions around me so that I could just be open into my truth. It is because of her. That is the greatest gift. When I tell people my daughter died and that's the greatest gift, they look at me like I have three heads. And sometimes I think to myself, but if you would just stop for a moment and hear me out and then experience it yourself, because that's where the magic happens when they have their own experiences, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about, because you will experience it too. But we have this matrix that we're indoctrinated in, where we're before people can even be open to experiencing that, they've got to sift through all of these things that they have been consistently told over and over and over again. And what is a belief? It's just something you were taught over and over and over again until it became part of your DNA and an inherent thought implant. And I can't help but look around and think to myself, holy moly, there's 7 billion people in the world. The mothers of the matrix are literally the people who are awake. And I don't mean awake like most spiritual communities. A lot of them think they are. And I can't help but notice you are not. You're bypassing, you're not acknowledging anything. Everything is not all love and light. If it was, we wouldn't be in a system. We do not need this amount of dark to find our light. None of my experiences ever taught me how to be a good person. Not one of those experiences. No amount of suffering taught me how to be a good person and be kind to others. Those are general standard things that we all came in with. Now let's think about children who come into circumstances or who are now adults. We come into trauma, abuse, child abuse, rape, systems of poverty, systems of segregation. Those things, to experience that from birth and on, sets us up for failure and to never connect, because there's too many barriers in a system that we think is serving us. It's a system. How do you have a breakthrough in a system that's designed to break you? It logically, common sense, it doesn't make any sense. However, when somebody has a repeated, consistent belief system about something, so mediums aren't real, I'm going to tell you about an experience with my brother. I love my brother. He is just waking up now to a lot of truth. But a while ago, he doesn't believe in this spiritual mumbo jumbo, all these things. And when COVID first happened, he wanted to know what I was doing for work. I don't market what I do to people. I allow people to come to me. And most people will say when they come to me, I don't even know how I found you. I don't even know where your name came up. I just knew I was supposed to come see you. So my brother, when I told him, I said, oh, I'm doing mediumship. His response to me was, and this was in my home, I think I've told this story somewhere else before, but his response, Sylvia, was consistent with a belief system that he's been taught over and over and over again of total disconnection. His response was, how could you be such a charlatan and lie to people and take money from people? And, I worked a long time to get to the point where I could stand and look at my brother and I said, I love you. And it's okay that you don't believe it. And it's okay that I heal a lot of people and you're not on board. I still love you. That changes nothing. That conversation never happened again. But it's a recognition. People have a hard time when you're told something over and over again, and suddenly it becomes not true or somebody's saying the opposite. We feel unsafe. So immediately we're going to go, no, I can't handle that, until it becomes a mainstream thing. It's fascinating. Like when you think about it, the mothers of the matrix are those who are tapped in and trying to connect people to their I am God essence, their I am one, because all that trauma and all that thought conditioning, if we create our own worlds, let's think about it. If we create our own worlds, here's my thought on this. If I'm a co-creator and my thoughts create my experience, however, my thoughts have been repetitively imprinted, and now sitting in my physical body, because your thoughts are energy and impact your DNA. When that happens, I'm not co-creating my own reality. I'm trying to create my reality, getting frustrated in a matrix that's designed so that I don't create my own reality, that I stay within this matrix, right? Yeah. I'm going to stop there because you have lots to say. I can literally see words swirling around you. You're like,
no, first of all, I mean, this is the most amount of people that are here listening for the first time. And this is just incredible. This means that these people were just like attracted to this for a reason. And it's amazing that we are speaking these words right now, that I am listening to these words that you're saying, and that it's everything that I've been reading and remembering with Don Miguel Ruiz about domestication. We are domesticated since the first day that we're here, so well that then we domesticate ourselves. We don't even need anybody to domesticate us. We already domesticate ourselves. It's incredible. I had this live demonstration on Sunday, and I really had to work those thoughts for real this time, because I'm like, okay, I am doing it like in front of hundreds of people. And then now there are like 10,000 people that watched it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like I really need to go there with confidence, trust, surrender, faith. And that week has been like the most ups and downs of this entire journey for me, because I was really like working on the same thoughts that your brother mentioned, right? Mm-hmm. Am I that charlatan? Then I was just praying and receiving this beautiful, comforting feelings that actually allow me to show up. My heart wasn't even pounding, and I was worried because I'm like, I'm not worried. I should be worried. I should be like
Nope.
anxious right now. But it's just so wonderful when we do that thing, when we show up, when we realize that what we are doing is changing lives, and when we realize that our expiration day, for me, exists. Like, we're not going to stay here forever in this form. Maybe we're going to reincarnate. I don't know. But for now, I am here. I have a friend that says I am on the wake up book. I wake up every morning. So I am on that book to wake up on this earth. There is a meaning. There is a reason as to why I'm here. There is something that I'm supposed to be doing with this day, with these 24 hours that I am given, because I don't know if tomorrow I am going to wake up like this here, and instead of being afraid of that, using that as a catalyst, using that as a, okay, how can I contribute? What can I do? Because I feel like the quality, and Tony Robbins says this, the quality of our life depends on the quality of our questions. So if our question is like, why me? Why did this happen to me? Why can't I do this? Why can't I attract money? Why can't I, whatever starts with why can't I, the brain is going to find all the answers to those questions. But if we ask ourselves, how can I contribute more and more? I mean, the potential is infinite. I think about the fact that I thought having a child was going to be a big pause to my life. And it has been the big catalyst, the biggest catalyst ever.
Yeah.
And it's 4 months, and everybody's like, how can you do this? I'm like, I don't know. How can I do this? I don't know. But I'm finding systems that are, I'm learning. I am working on the systems because I know that my message needs to get out there. It's not
Yeah.
even my message. That's the thing. It's the message. And I have had the opportunity to be on the other side. And all I wanted to do in that moment was, I wish I could go back to bring more people here, to let them know that this is real, to let them know what life is about, what they are supposed to be doing with their life and stuff like that. But I want to welcome everybody here. Thank you so much for engaging. I want to thank Mary. She's saying pain is a doorway to wisdom and truth. It's a wake-up call. Being broken open because of the pain allows us, encourages us to question everything. It wakes us up if we are willing. And Tara says, what a great response to your brother. Yeah, you're speaking my language. I'm so happy, Mary, that you are connected to this dynamic duo. Amy, thank you so much, all of you that are engaging, the ones that are watching. We're just going to continue here. She said a couple of things that I needed to write down, but I was so into it and I didn't write down, just wrote down one, that they want to make us believe that we are disconnected. Once we believe that, we think that, we just need to find that connection somewhere outside, like the course and more courses and hours of, courses and books, which is great. But at the end of the day, at some point, we will have to sit and be in that connection. I believe that we find it in the present moment, here right now. It's not like tomorrow somewhere else. This is the only moment that is available and that exists, and this is where the connection is. When we realize it, not just understand it logically, that's where the breakthrough, I feel, is. And like, we show up to liberate ourselves and liberate others from the need to be something that we are not. This is what I see that, I am actually doing with all that I am doing, just allowing myself to be so that I can inspire others to just be and flow.
Yes. Yeah. And, so it's interesting. I want to go back. Thank you for commenting, you guys. I always love when people comment, because the more you engage, the more we are able to tune into that energy and deliver what you need. So that's another interesting thing as well. So by all means, I want to touch on something else, and I'm going to be super brave right now. And I'm going to say this only because I've been there. I've buried one of my children. I attempted for 7 years to go through the system. It resulted in me wanting to commit suicide. And then I did it this way with spirit, this way where we don't actually die. So what I learned from the pain was actually this is going to sound a little bit off for some people, but just hear me out. What I learned from that 7 years of pain and suffering was that all of the systems and concepts and ideas that we have encourage that suffering. There is no support systems that actually acknowledge a spiritual component that is healthy and lays it all out. The very fact that we fear death and we believe it's the end is solely because it was taught to us over and over again. My suffering was a direct result feeling that my daughter was gone. That is not necessary. Is it sad? Is it painful? Grief? Absolutely. But perhaps it's only painful in the way that it is. Many people, they grieve their whole lives. They go the rest of their lives and they release their body and go back to spirit only to discover, I didn't need to suffer that long because what did I learn from the suffering? Yes, we say we learn from pain, but that's only because we've been placed in a system that creates pain. We have no other choice but to learn from it in order to come back to what we were originally when we came in. So the idea that pain and suffering and darkness in the spiritual communities, I'm really going out on a limb here and being really brave saying this. The idea that we require suffering and pain and darkness to find our light is an illusion. And it's because we are indoctrinated into a system that is full of darkness, pain, trauma, and suffering, because we're in competition with each other, because we've segregated each other, because we have poverty, we have abuse. And because those keep continuing, because we acknowledge, oh, we need dark and light, those kind of darks, those are not required for us to learn our light. Could we make it any more obvious for those of you who don't know? Sometimes I'm the singing medium and my daughter will give me songs or spirit will give songs with certain things. There is a component that we have attached to suffering in society, a label and an idea that if we've suffered, that's okay as long as we've grown from it. And my view of that is the amount of suffering that's happening actually is not growing people at the rate we need to. Human evolution is so far behind track because it's actually putting us so far behind. We're not able to evolve at the rate that we should be. And I will say that we should be way far beyond what we are right now. And I'm hearing, can I get a hell yes?
Heaven, yes. Sorry.
Yeah, heaven, yes. So when you said Don Miguel Ruiz was talking about hell. So I, because of my experience in those 7 years of grief with no support in a system that did the opposite of helping me, that was my you know what I learned? This is hell here for millions and billions of people. This is hell. They are in a system they cannot get out of. They can't possibly change your thoughts, change your life. It's not that easy for people when they're consistently placed having bars put up against them. And if you think about it, then there's the concept of energy. So first, if we're all afraid of death, we're going to spend our life mitigating that fear. We're going to look for everything we can, safety and security, doesn't matter what it is or what it looks like, for the very thing we all know we're going to do with a plethora of evidence in every field, including the scientific one, that there is so much life that there is only life. And that is all that there is. It's, and I think to myself, everyone says, oh, do you have proof of an afterlife? And I think to myself, you have more proof through thousands of years of spirit, guidance, God, afterlife, all of those things, than you could ever find of not having any proof. And
Wow.
those are things that you can look up. So when I think of the spiritual realms, we often get stuck up here. And that's why it's been given that woo-woo label to ensure that people don't go there, because we live in a 3D physical, tangible reality. Get a good job, get married, have 3 kids, drive a fancy car, do this, do that. And if you haven't done that, you're going to be shamed and you're going to feel like you're not a success. Meanwhile, the truth is, not one of those things defines success. Not one of them. And now Ava's saying, sometimes the clothes do not make the man. It's true. Man, woman, both, whatever. That is the reality of it. And when we're afraid of death, that's easy peasy. We just indoctrinated ourselves. They don't even have, the systems are designed that when we come in, we automatically program ourselves to their system because that's all that's outside of us. We don't trust in ourselves. We doubt ourselves. We doubt our worth, not because we personally doubt our worth or don't trust ourselves. It's because we have either spoken our truth, said things, and the people in the outside world are the ones who said, oh, that's not true. I don't believe you. Those are the roots of it. So the second I say, you know what? I feel unworthy because you put that label on me or you acted that way towards me. Meanwhile, why on earth would I listen to what somebody else's idea of worthiness is? Oh, wait, I was taught to be disconnected and that I'm less than God and I was born in sin, which means that's shame and yada, yada, yada. I want to talk about mothers too. Can I flow with this?
Yes, go ahead.
So
I need to take notes. It's too fast. Thank God I'm recording this.
I do sometimes when it's coming out, I just let it flow, sister. Oftentimes, Sylvia, I do have to go back and I either don't know all the details of what I said, or I have to go back and say, what did I say? Because I know it was profound and I felt it. So I have to go back and watch it. It's true. And that's okay. That's how my energy works. So if we think about the mothers, the female energy is so powerful. We have the capability to grow an entire human being in our body. We are intuitive nurturers naturally. When you strip power away from women and make them feel less than, you already dominated them. There's so many different fields of this. So when I think about women, and I see a powerful woman, I recognize she's embodied her feminine as well as her masculine, because we have both within all of us, as well as her masculine. She's owned her worth and she is tapped in. So what happens when, whether it's women or men, it's irrelevant. What happens is when we call back all the pieces of us from all people, time, places, spaces, experiences, we call them all back into us as a solid whole one without interference, because we're creating our own reality. But guess what? There's interference from everything around us. It's impossible for it not to be that way. Think about it. Our spouse, it's either a good interference or a not good interference, right? It can be in any capacity. So if we're whole in ourselves, we suddenly are fully connected. So what happens in our society and all these traumas and this darkness and this pain is that trauma is exactly what is required to ensure that somebody does not disconnect that, because a piece of them is over there. And our society does not deal with trauma in a way that empowers people. It does not. I really wish it did. That is going to change soon, I'm hearing, very soon. So there's like a shifting of energy. Do you want to go to this area now? Because this stuff has been coming from you for the last year. So there's going to be a shift of energy. It already started, I want to say 4 months ago. It's part of what I channeled 6 months ago and had posted too about the competition. It was also starting in last summer, people's gifts started to open up. So what that means is suddenly they could have experiences. There were more synchronicities. They had skills that they didn't know they had. They could hear spirit. Their body started feeling things on a whole other level. So people would attribute that to ascension symptoms or things like that. No, we're in a time shift where there is a level of negative energy that has been lifted. Sylvia, you have felt this beginning in the new year. There was a change. There was a DNA upgrade that's still going on, still happening. Every portal is just getting opening and opening and opening. So what it's doing is we say, oh, I got a new gift. The gift is not what makes you the miracle. You're the miracle. The gift is the extension of you. So when all those negative things start filtering off you, the energy, and not all of them are yours, when they filter off, suddenly those gifts become, oh, I can see clearly now, the rain is gone, right? So if you think about it, when we have trauma, when we have experiences that hold us down, so to not be believed when you speak your truth over and over again, it creates in us this smoke that stands in front of the mirror that we are looking at. So if I look at my house of self, if everything begins in me and I'm my creator, I have a level of mirrors that are around me so that I can see myself, see my true colors, see those things. Now, what happens with trauma and when you're indoctrinated into a system that's designed to make you believe you're less than, designed to make you sacrifice for others, designed to make you follow the herd and fit inside the box, or guess what? Life is going to be hard. You're going to be punished. You're going to be blah, 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 which are all persecution things from past lives for most of us. It's not just this life. It's an accumulation, Ava is saying, of multiple lives that are about, those chains are about to be broken in this life. So if you, when you said you were a liberator, Sylvia, she's saying that's exactly what you are. You are a breaker of chains. And that liberation begins with you and all of your experiences through all of your lives, your energies, the records, all of those things, all are coming into full circle in this lifetime right now. So when people talk about the Great Awakening, this is part of that Great Awakening. So when I say there's not enough of us in these roles doing the intuitive and the mediumship, and we're spending this time focused on each other, and the truth is we need you to open up because you're all about to have floodgates of people that desperately need your help. There's no freaking competition. We need to support each other so we can support the floodgates of people that are coming. And that's because of the lift of the negative high levels. So those amplification of gifts is not just for healers and intuitives, rainbow warriors, or light workers. It also, I'm seeing like a little bottle top coming off of the people who maybe aren't awake yet or haven't come to those conclusions. It's like a bottle top comes off and a little bit opens up for them so that we can move our energy through and with to help them, because now they're ready for it because of the energetic shift, not because they didn't do their work, I didn't want to. I'm going on a lot of different places here. I'm just rolling with what comes in. What's your thoughts, Sylvia? Handing over the mic.
In this 10 minutes, I don't know how long you took to say everything that you said, which every single word was just like a nugget, a precious nugget of golden light. I went from crying to just feeling I have this rush of energy just flowing through me. I feel the resonance of these words. I feel what you're saying about the DNA upgrade. I just feel it. And I feel what Mary's saying, like the pain of her loss broke her open. I feel that sometimes for me, I had to go in that place over and over. 7 years, you said about 7 years of being in that place. It's not just 7 days. 7 years is a long time. It's a freaking long time. So I know that what you're saying, I feel it because it comes from your experience. I wanted to say a couple of things. My goodness, so many things. One is there is a conclusion that I got to, a message that I received, not a conclusion that I got, a message that I received in order to be able to show up for this public demonstration, which I know is like the beginning of exactly what you're saying. We need help. We need to support each other because there are literally people need us. Like, there isn't another thing to say. People need us. We all have our unique way to show up and serve and help. And we don't have to sacrifice, just like what you were saying, sacrifice anymore. There is no good in, us doing everything for free for these people because we just want to help them. And then we become homeless because we don't have anything to provide for ourselves. And so that others are happy with the fact that we are doing this for free. Like, we are changing that paradigm as well. And we are redistributing wealth. I feel that's also what is happening by us showing up, accumulating this wealth so that we can redistribute it and just help in that way as well to change that mindset around money. But anyways, the message was we need to please only spirit, not the people that are going to say whatever about us. There are always going to be what we call haters, which are just like that necessary mirror that you were talking about, that reflects back to us our insecurities and what we need to see to be able to decide consciously whether we are going to be still willing to show up or let those voices succeed, right? And take over and give energy to those voices. So I had that download and I'm like, yeah, I need to show up the way that I am. I cannot be something that I am not, something else, something more, and just see what happens. Just trust. I feel like we do that. We trust when we give birth, right? Because we go through the portal of death in that moment. Something else that you said that I wanted to underline is when women come together, they create magic. It's so true. We're so used to like dim each other's light because that's what has been rooted in us. I actually heard a friend a few weeks ago. She told me, when they started burning what they were calling witches, it's because women would gather like what we're doing here, and in real life, of course, there wasn't internet, and it was magic that was happening, and there were men that were intimidated by that power, and they started putting them against one another, just talking bad about one of them to the other friend, and so they started going against each other, and that's when this competition matrix started happening, and the world went no, just like that. But I feel like what you are saying, we are all waking up, we are all having this opportunity. I feel this is yesterday, like the other day, I made a video and I just cry when I think about what an amazing opportunity it is to have this role where in this lifetime you don't have to do what your grandparents did, like working very hard just to survive. You're able to thrive. The fact that you're saying like only life exists, like what a breakthrough. Like how many things can happen if you make that part of your life? How many beautiful miracles and blessings, and how much magic is going to enter in our life when we accept that. I actually received a message today from a mom. She asked me to recommend her a book, and I recommended her this book called Violets on the Window. And it's a book that a 19-year-old wrote once in spirit to talk to us about what they do. And she said, this girl talks about going to the cinema, going to class, working with children, deciding what she wants to do, and having support. And there are different people in spirit that support her inclinations and stuff. And the mom was like, I finished the book, and I want something more like that is going to help me with my faith, because this is more like a novel. It's not really real. I'm like, really? That's what you think? She said, yes, because if this was real, I would be the happiest mom in the world. If my daughter was actually, alive, healthy, I would be the happiest mother in the world. And I have like this rush of energy. I'm like, wow, we really choose suffering over what is possible over and over again until we decide to do what you said. What if we try this other route, not the mainstream route of maybe, I don't want to mention anything, just the mainstream route that wants to perpetuate suffering because they can give you different drugs, different medications, right? Different things that keep you in the system so that you are a walking zombie and you do not become the light worker that you are. I'm just going to stop there because I am the one.
Nope. That is absolutely, absolutely perfect. You are correct. And so a statement that I hear all the time is forgive them, for they truly don't know. They truly just don't know. And the reason they don't know, so here's how I look at it, Sylvia. In those 7 years, a lot of people could have told me that my daughter was still with me, and they did. God had a better plan, yada, yada, yada. When somebody has buried their children, I do not care if God has a plan, because that was not my plan. And here I am in hell, right? So it's almost like this idea of, you could have told me that my daughter was still alive, and lots of people did. It's not that I didn't want to believe it. It's that I was taught for 3 decades, day in and day out prior to that it was not real. So it was never a question of that I didn't want to choose to believe in it. This was so imprinted in who I was that I couldn't even go there. Because if you think about it, if I believe my whole life that we die and there's a heaven and a hell and there's a God and he's going to punish you and he's going to do this and he's going to do that. Oh, but P.S. he's very forgiving. If I have been taught this over and over and over again, I'm the second that something shows up that is different, that means everything I have been taught was a lie. I now feel very unsafe.
Mm.
I do not know who I am. And P.S., fight or flight, I'm going to fight to continue to prove that that paradigm is real. Because if that's not real, then what?
Right.
It's scary for people. And it took me wanting to commit to going into a forest, Sylvia, at 5 a.m. saying, God, I give up, and deciding to make a plan to end my life, for somebody to reach out to me 2 days later saying your daughter's been showing up for weeks and she's just said that you've given up and you can't give up. Come on. If that's not the setup to get up, I don't know what is. That literally saved my life. And that woman, P.S., had been getting that for weeks because she had to work up the courage, because she told no one she was a medium. She was not a practicing medium. She had to work up the courage to send that message at just the right timing as I had started to make my plan, which means spirit, the universe, God heard every plea that we have, because she was getting it weeks before I came to that decision. So I was going to come to that decision no matter what. Spirit bumps. This is how connected we all are. So I'm also hearing somebody say, well, I ask for things. We pray to God expecting our prayers to be answered. Now, Ava's saying you can't always get what you want, but you will always get what you need. Your people will show up. We are surrounding you, whether you see it or not, or believe it or not, does not change truth. I'm talking to my deceased daughter. You cannot see her. That doesn't mean it's not true. It simply means that you're not able to perceive the thing that I have perceived. That does not make me crazy. It means you're putting a label of crazy onto something that you can't possibly understand because you're not willing to. And I don't mean you, I'm saying in general, as
Yes.
you know that, Sylvia.
I mean, let's just look at the reality that we have in front of our eyes. We're in Canada.
Yeah.
I am in Miami. How are we connecting? Aren't we using an alien technology here? Aren't we using a Wi-Fi that is like this invisible thing? So, I understand that, and I ask myself the same questions that everybody asks. Like, is my loved one here, like physically here? It's like saying, I don't know. To me, it's like the level of technology that is available, it's just beyond what we can possibly understand. And we're going to get there when we are capable of making space for that information. Just like our great grandparents, we couldn't have told them about the internet. What's the internet? Well, the internet is this thing where you use Wi-Fi and then you have a computer. Wait, what's the computer? Well, the computer is like a box that connects you with everybody in the world live at any moment in time during the day, as long as you have Wi-Fi. So what's Wi-Fi? It's like, oh my God, like we get lost in the how, right? And then when we just accept that, okay, there is an intelligence, there is a higher intelligence, there is what you're saying, life. Life is in the emptiness that I call emptiness here right now, but there's like floods of information available to us. And then it's up to us whether we want to tune in with that or not. And I love what you say about the fact that it takes for us to break the illusions in which we have been living all our life. And I feel like the death of a child, for me, it was just not knowing what life was about. And I remember, and I said this in an interview and they cut it because people are feeling uncomfortable talking about this, but I literally stepped into the water and I told God, this is my last day. This is my last moment. God knew. And I wanted to die in the worst way possible. And then when I was underwater, I feel somebody like tapping on my shoulder and just interrupting me in that moment. And it happened like multiple times. And I was like, so what's the reason why you're keeping me here? If there is a God, so that's when, like, for me, everything started. I feel like sometimes we need to go down there because our hope has been completely demolished. And we are the ones that need to find that connection again with that forgiving and very loving God that, forces us to see things completely different. Because for me, it was like, I am just like such a sinner. I am so not perfect. I have so many flaws. I do not do this right. I do not express myself this way, blah, 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 blah. So I am not worthy of connecting with spirit. That was my thing, right? That was my thing. And then I was like, wow, interesting. That's the program that I have in my mind that I am allowing myself to believe, blah, blah, blah. So I feel like when we embark on this journey with spirit, we think that we are doing it for others. We think that, I mean, a lot of things, but in reality, it's such a beautiful way to heal ourselves together, just like what you do and what you say all the time, together with spirit. I have certain things that you said that are so, they are just golden seeds. They've stayed in my heart. And in these months after our interview, the first one, they have been just blossoming. And I am so honored, honestly, to be able to be the witness of this energy rush that is flowing through you and through me right now and through the people that are watching. I'm going to read some comments here and then we're going to go back to flow. People want for this to be translated in Spanish. Yes, we're going to try to do that. You see, there is a lot of work that needs to happen behind the scenes, by the way, to be able for these messages to come out. You know, a lot of work. We need to figure out how to use Zoom. We need to figure out how to pay for the membership. We need to figure out how to go live. There are many tutorials they have to watch on YouTube. There's a lot of work behind this. And, you know, when people say like you're a scam or a charlatan, I'm like, wow, they really think that I put so much work behind this just to scam people.
And not only that, Sylvia, because they're technically connected and are of God and actually intuitive as well, they're calling themselves that. That's the thing, right?
That is the thing.
You know, we're all energy, spirit's energy. My body is a condensing of energy. That's it. That's all energy is. The fluid in between, it's more loose energy that has tons of information if you're willing to sense it. Your body is the ultimate sensor of all of that information because it's literally condensed layers of energy.
I just feel like crying when you say that. What did you say?
A lot of work goes in. It requires, not only does it require a lot of work to do all of the behind the scenes things of running a business and having a membership and doing mediumship and having all those platforms, it's hard to come out and say things. It could be wrong, right? Sometimes I misperceive the information. There's no medium that has ever not misperceived something because we're coming from our own perceptions. I can't describe to you something that I don't even know what that is or how to describe it. It's not going to come through that way. There is a lot. It requires a lot of energy. Our vessels can only handle so much of those downloads and connections. We have to take care of our vessels. And if I haven't taken care of my vessel, and if I haven't gotten what I needed to feel stable and secure, how on earth am I going to continually channel healing things for other people or share my energy with them so that their energy can open too? How's that going to work? Let's bust through that. It's a barrier that was designed to keep us disconnected. And it's already been, I'm hearing, I came in like a wrecking ball. Ava's showing me that so much. She did that on a live, almost every live now she's coming on with that. She's showing me literally, it's like a wrecking ball going through dark towers, barriers, walls, paradigms, beliefs. And once those are obliterated or crumbled, it's like all the light suddenly is there. Yeah, that's what she shows me. I also too feel so honored, Sylvia. Sometimes I shake my head when I say I'm so honored to do this thing, but the truth is it's because I can't believe the mind-blowing stuff. And I'm like, I love it. And I'm so honored. And it feels so pure to be that kind of vessel, to be able to sense both the living and the deceased, to hear the things that people think about themselves is crushing for me to hear what they're saying to themselves or what's being said to them or their experiences. And I think it's such an honor, but I'm shaking my head like it blows my mind to the point where sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I can't even believe it. This is like outrageous. It's amazing. And it is an honor. And I do often cry when I realize, how profound that experience is, and that everyone else is just a beautiful soul coming at it too. Yeah.
Let me just read here some comments. No more not believing what we cannot see. So thankful for you both and all that you do, especially for us moms. You were catalysts in turning me around and opening my mind to spirit. It is where I found my Kelly, waiting with such excitement. Here is where I found my Kelly, waiting with such excitement. I feel that so much. I remember that's all we want to do when we are on the other side. Just like, oh, I am still alive. They need to know. They need to know. And then they decide what they want to do, but they need to know. My purpose is to dispel the idea that we are doomed to suffer because of the death of our children.
High five, sister. I'm with you on that one. And that is what happens in those communities. So Sylvia, I know for me, spot on. Yes, it is. So when you are in a state where your entire world just was annihilated and you've buried your child and you're in shock and you feel like you're never going to get over it, you can barely breathe, you can barely move. And this is just the first year of shock. Most people, when they hit the second year, it gets worse because suddenly the shock of this is real sets in. When you go into a lot of communities, and this has been my experience personally, you're told that you will never get over it. So when somebody is coming in feeling like they're not going to get over something, and they're at the bottom of the bottom, and they're told by people who have experienced it before that they will never get over it. And I mean, like people saying, don't even bother getting help. Think about what that just created. So when you're in a trauma mindset and somebody's coming who's had an experience to tell you that, of course, we're going to have high suicide rates, high divorce rates, high addiction rates. Of course, we're going to be dysfunctional and suffering for the rest of our lives, because not only when we ask for help or say, what is this? Not only do we get help that does the opposite of help us, it creates a belief. And then we believe that belief, and everything we do from that point forwards will just direct us right towards that belief. And the saddest part about that is that person that said you'll never get over it, that's just their belief in what they're living, because they don't know that there's anything different. I'll never forget when a woman in a bereaved parents group. So the second I had written books or became a bereavement coach was when people in grief groups started telling me I was not allowed to tell people what I do. I was not allowed to post anything, even if it was a poem right from my heart as a bereaved parent. I was not allowed to do those things because it would be perceived as selling something. So my view on that is, I could care less if you buy something from me. I do not care if you get a reading from me, but I do want to share my journey with you openly with no strings attached, so that you know you have another choice. There's something other than you won't get over it. So what would happen is people would openly say, does anybody know somebody who can help with this or this, or I'm desperate. And I would respond because somebody said, I said, oh, I do this service. You're welcome to go to my website. I'm not selling you. I'm saying, if you want to choose something else, go there. The next comment would be, you'll never get over it. Do you know whose comment was deleted and told they couldn't post in the group? The one that was offering the help that she was asking for. And the comments that stayed in the group was, you will never get over it. Don't bother getting help, all of those things. So the people that we serve in our grief communities, they're not serving the bereaved. It's almost like, I want to say this sounds terrible, but this is the truth. And I'm sorry, sometimes the truth sucks, but I personally witnessed it, experienced it on my own, and watched other people witness it. It literally sets us up to fail. And that's because people who are traumatized, who haven't worked through it, are trying to serve other people, but projecting the trauma. And it's just a loop. Trauma is the perfect way to reinforce a loop. And it's And I am grateful that I went through those 7 years and experienced all of it, Sylvia, because that is the only reason why I was able to go back and pinpoint all the things that don't work, why they don't work on an emotional level, on a concept of grief and death, but as well as the psychological piece and the trauma piece, right? All of those things go together. It's such a disservice to human beings. It's such a disservice. And it's not because they're intentionally trying to, keep people down. That's their reality too. They're all in it. And this is where I want to take the wrecking ball to it, because it's not just about grief. It is about money. It is about status. And, we worship, it's Tupac. I'm getting that Tupac quote right now. We worship people for being fake, having a facade. And when somebody shows up and is a truth teller and tells the truth and it isn't pretty, they're shamed and dismissed. We don't celebrate them at all. So we're basically in an entire system that says, don't speak the truth. We're going to reward you for staying in the trauma. We're going to reward you for having this front. But if you do the opposite, we're going to shame you. And we're not just going to shame you. There's going to be all kinds of other things that go along with it. This is why so many people who are truth tellers are often isolated. They're targeted because it's not the norm. Sylvia, it breaks my heart to know that speaking your truth is not the norm. This is what we came for. To not be yourself is the norm. To be disconnected is the norm, and not at all what we came here for. How do we evolve as a human consciousness? How do we evolve anywhere? Forget consciousness, in any capacity. If these systems are not clearly identified, there's evidence of this everywhere. I guarantee, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and Ava's saying how big your brave is. I guarantee you, for every journey that everyone has ever had, whether it's racism, oppression, depression, addictions, abuse, sexual abuse, all of those things, all of those people will be able to give evidence of a loop that they were put into because of it, and a system that perpetuated the loop and did the opposite of helping them. These stories are everywhere, and they're the people we dismiss most of the time. To not be believed in your truth is hard. It is.
I feel like we curse ourselves with words. A word can be.
Oh, you have no idea how spot on what you just said actually is.
Yeah, no, I have idea. I did everything. I did 3 ceremonies of ayahuasca to work on my self-sabotaging, trying to understand my self-judgment and hearing all these voices that usually are inside of me, outside of me, and going completely crazy. To then just realize that it's all about the words that I tell myself, the words that come out of my mouth, because they reflect what's in my heart. And just like what you're saying, it's not their fault. They're not at fault. That's the reality that they're living. So of course they're going to think that they are completely cuckoo if you're telling them that there is a life after burying your child, and that you can thrive, and that your child is not gone, and all these things. It's like, you are, just like what you're saying, you're taking the belief system that they we believed in for such a long time, just like a rug. You're pulling the rug from their underneath their feet, and now it's like they're floating and they're just like falling. They don't know where to start, and that's why I feel like we are the forerunners in some way. We are creating those foundations for ourselves, so that when people come to us desperate, we can again use our unique experiences to say, look, I totally get you. I understand what it means to be there, and at the same time I am showing you that there is another way. Is it easy? It's not supposed to be. You're not going to learn how to do this in a weekend, but you can start putting the seeds. You can start moving forward, making the first step, and then creating the community that you are creating, that I I need to think about it. I need to create one as well so that we can welcome people in a community where they are not going to feel ashamed for who they are. They can practice and be who they are. They can explore who they are and just explore all the different corners and know that they are going to be loved and accepted no matter what. And that there is unconditional love that is going to be showered upon them no matter what. I just feel like at the end of the day, that's all that we want. We want to feel that we are deserving of love. And that's why we put all the masks on and we try to fit in. It's not even our fault. We are just taught to, say thank you, not be grateful. Say please, not actually feel feel those emotions, what it means to feel grateful, not just say thank you, right, goodbye, I love you. What is love? Just, it's, I feel like, and especially with children in spirit, I mean, my friends, they are my friends. All my contemporaries are in spirit. They have been teaching me so much about how to use this opportunity that I have in this vessel. I could be there with them and somebody else, just like you. If you were not saved by that person that really did gather all her courage to let you know that your daughter was trying to get to you. Thanks to that courage, now you're here. If you weren't here, somebody else needed to do what you're doing, right? In their own way, like step into that power. Now you're here and you can help others do that. And I feel like we are all called to do that over and over and over again, every single day of our life. Just work on that self-exploration more, because it is just so, there is so much. I say this because I know there is so much more to know than just like having the evidence of the fact that they are alive. Once we have the evidence, what else is there? Sorry, go ahead.
That is, yeah, I totally agree. And I don't do mediumship. Like, I'm a guide. Yes, I'm a psychic medium. Yes, it started out as mediumship. But if you have access to mediumship, you have access to pretty much everything. And if we put a label on it, where did we stop ourselves? Where did we decide that was the only thing I could do? Or it only looks like this, or it only looks like that, right? So I really feel like I totally lost my train of my train of thought, because I'm getting 5 different things here and I'm not sure which one to focus on.
You were saying that you're not just a medium, that you're a guide and you're guiding people.
Yeah. So even though in the beginning, I thank you so much, Sylvia. Thank you. So the very fact that it started as one thing, but morphed into all of these other things is just more and more evidence that really, when we talk about, I always thought about evidential mediums. So to get evidence, so something that is a fact that I could never know about you, that was very distinct. That is, evidential mediumship is very, very powerful to kick the door open for people. So I don't ever say that I'm an evidential medium. And here's why. The purpose of my mediumship, because I'm also a guide, is literally to take you through a healing process and a paradigm shift. So it's not that I don't care about evidence. I do. It's important. Without that, how do you know where you're at? But the purpose of mediumship is not about saying, yes, we're really real, or yes, the dead, even though there's only life, are still here. The purpose of mediumship for me and my role and as a guide is literally to guide people's energy into opening that connection for themselves. It's about healing. It's not about saying, yes, that deceased person is there. I had a lady that, it's reminding me of this. I have a lady who is so amazing, and she is a psychologist. So I often will get people who are in the traditional therapy modes who have recognized that book, that teaching, it's so much more when you include the intuitive piece of it. Your ability to guide and help and heal others becomes significantly amplified, because the universe knows exactly what the trigger points is, knows exactly what needs to be said, and knows exactly where that person needs to go, versus doing a traditional therapy. Traditional therapy is beneficial. It sets a lot of foundations. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing in any capacity. I'm saying when you add in the intuitive scope of it, it changes everything. Healing becomes rapid. And that's because you're tapping into a person's spirit and soul, and the universe is guiding it. So, evidence is important. Yes. I always feel like people go to evidential mediums to build up proof that it's real. Does that kind of make sense? They're going to build up proof that it's real. So once you've built up the proof that it's real, then you need to move into the whole expansion of healing, because who cares if it's real, if it's not going to help me heal and get me connected to them. And if it's real and they're not really gone, why on earth am I not fully stepping into this idea of what it is? Because the only reason we think it's not real and the only reason we doubt it is because we were taught that repetitively and consistently. Anything you do consistently and repetitively creates a DNA track. Just like a trauma experience creates a shift in your DNA, it gets absorbed into there. It's the same with spirit. We're just pulling out all these beliefs and things that we've been told over and over again. But mediumship is incredibly healing. It's incredibly healing. So this woman who did this grief course, so I did the Alchemy of Grief, Grieve, Release, Connect. So we go through the grief process, we release it, and you learn to connect, and you do it all together, the whole process with your loved one. She went to see a medium recently, which just happened to be timed with the healers circle that she's now a part of, this community that we've created. And the medium said to her, I can't remember the exact words, but she just shared this with me and I was blown away. And he said something along the lines of, he had never seen anyone move through the death of a child so quickly, and that she was on her exact right path. And I thought to myself, that's it right there. You're not meant to spend the rest of your life suffering because of what happened to you. You're not. We get stuck there. And I thought that's perfect validation for that woman to know. And it's validation for me, right? As that process, I know it's healing, but to have a random stranger say, whoa, spirit is saying this about you. And for that to be the accurate truth is so validating for her and for me. And it's true. To be connected is healing. How do you grieve? How do you miss somebody? Ava, she's like, stop talking, Mom. You're going a mile a minute. It's true. Oftentimes spirit's like, okay, how do you grieve somebody how do I miss you when you're right here? How do I miss you when you are literally there all the time? When I thought you weren't there, I didn't just miss you. I suffered. You were gone. That was all a belief system. So if that makes any sense, healing really is, evidence is just like kick the door open. What's the next step? And I feel like we're really moving into a time and space and a paradigm shift where that kick the door open, I need to believe it's real, is no longer going to be a thing. It's going to be pulled right into the throes of, let's use it as a healing modality and use it to the full capacity we can. If I can say, hey, she has dark hair and this and that and the other thing, does that really matter when we can actually touch on every trauma you've ever had in your life and start healing it right here and right now?
Oh my God.
I don't know, but to me, it's really obvious, but that's because I've been through both sides of the process and broken it down, right? So I just feel like that's common sense. But when we're in a system with beliefs, common sense means actually doesn't mean anything and doesn't even play a role, because it's a belief system that overrides what you would commonly ask questions about. And Tony's right. Your answer will only ever be as good as your question. And if you ask the wrong question, expecting a certain answer, you're going to get the wrong answer because you asked the wrong question.
Yeah, I feel like we are called. People ask, what do you need to do in order to be a medium? So many things, and none of them, but so many things that I want to say. But first of all, when I do a session with somebody and there is healing, they always want to know more. Okay, now that I know, because there was no way that you could know this and that. Okay, even if I said just one thing, that
Mhm.
connected them. They just stay with that in their mind. So some of them, the majority of them, want to learn how to do that themselves. So how do you do that? Well, there are many things, like the why is that you want to do it, understanding that in order to do that you need to become a certain type of person. I
Mhm.
thought, I was trying to be a medium, like, I had to work on my anger, and I'm still working on my anger a lot, because I would argue with my husband, I cannot give a session, so I had to postpone the session, right? I have to work on my confidence, I have to work on my vocabulary. There is a lot
A
of work
lot.
behind the scenes, but we are doing it because we know that people lives can be saved and transformed completely. So it starts like with, it started for me as well with, oh my goodness, we can connect. Oh, I can be a medium. Okay, let me just try. Oh, okay, this is happening. Okay, I am a medium. All right. So now what? What do I want to do with it? And the universe is always putting these questions in my mind. Now that I know this, I cannot keep it for myself. I actually was thinking, I had this thought while you were speaking, we need to do this more often,
Yeah.
just once a month or once every 2 weeks or maybe once a week, just jump on a call, and I don't know, just speak and flow, because these are things that really can liberate a lot of people and create a beautiful ripple effect. And
Mhm.
who knows, but I had that thought and I wanted to share it with you. I want to thank you so much, and I want to ask you if you have any last thoughts. We have been going on for almost 1 hour and a half, and I have to feed the baby soon. But I wanted to thank you from my entire, not just my heart, my entire spirit for this. This
Mhm.
is just, I don't know, for
I
me, has
love
been
you.
so healing and beautiful. And I know for the people that have been staying here consistently for 1 hour and a half, so grateful for them. Okay, the word is yours.
I love you. I knew I loved you from the moment I met you. And everybody says we throw around love a lot. No, I genuinely just, there's some people where, oh, I already know I love you and I love it. So I am honored. Thank you. I'm always honored to come in. I'm always honored to be able to have spaces like this to share, because you're right. If I'm getting all this information and I'm channeling, and it was so healing for me, I I want to share that with other people to serve them. Like, what's the point of having all that? What's the point in getting all that information channeled and learning it if we're not out there sharing it? And
Mm.
I just feel like we are in a massive shift and change that will be monumental. 2022 is going to change a lot of lives, whether we're prepared for it or not. And yeah, a lot of work goes into that. And there definitely, I would love to connect on a more frequent basis to be able to flow and share what comes out. Because if we have felt that way, someone else is feeling that way.
Mm.
Out of 7 billion, 8 billion people, definitely.
More
And I
than
want
7
you,
minutes.
and I want you to go feed your baby.
Yes, I'm gonna do that.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody. Maria, Tara, Tina, Lisa. Thank you so much, Erin, for this. Maybe we can create a class, a circle of some sort. We're gonna see what happens after this magic,
You
because
can
we
come to
have
the
been through.
quantum healer circle.
Yeah, tell us before
Okay.
leaving, where are we going? Tell us where to
Oh,
find you. Where
okay.
can we find you, and what are you doing now? What are the things that you're offering at this moment?
So yes, so right now anyone can find me on my website. It's erinchandler.com. Of course, you can book a reading or an intuitive guidance session. You're welcome to join our spirit healing community, which is specifically for the bereaved who are both learning to connect as well as moving through the grief process. That's a full-on community. And then the Quantum Healers Circle is really designed and engaged for healers, light workers, intuitives, mages, sages that are women. I'm not to out the men, because there are some magical men out there who are doing incredible things. But this was actually designed specifically for women with these magical gifts so that they could be celebrated, have a safe place to land. Of course, as a guide, I'm channeling through whatever their path is. It just comes through. We also do clearings and activations. We do all kinds of things in a community. The point of the community is literally so that you can be celebrated and you can go out and serve in whatever path you're serving. And you've got a team of women who are not only supporting you, they will defend you. They will raise you up into your highest light and root you into that so that you can go out and do your magic in the world, because we need more of us and we need the support of each other, where there is no jealousy, there is no BS, none of that. It's just, I love you, you're magic, I celebrate you, let's do this. Yeah. So the Quantum Healer Circle, actually right now, you can find on Facebook. There is a group, it's called Quantum Healer Circle. However, we do have the membership community. And I think that I may just post it in your chat after this, the link for that. If you want to join it, by all means, by all means.
I'm gonna put all of your information in the description of this video so that, you know, people can find it and, you know, find ways to reach you. And I also want to be part of it because I'm just called to be part of it, you know, so that I can recommend it from the inside, see how it is. And then, you know, I always have, I feel like I am this magnet with people and I attract, like, I don't know, I just am a magnet. So
yay.
Just recognizing that. Thank you so much, Erin, for
Thank
sharing
you.
all this beautiful wisdom. Thank you for all the breakthroughs. Thank you for spreading words that are liberating us and liberating us from the curses that we have been believing for so long. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to your beautiful daughter that has been a catalyst of this change.
Yeah.
What a role she has in your life.
What a role. That's right. What a role. I feel the same way. Yes. Thank you everyone who came to this call, and thank you for having me as well, Sylvia. It's a treasure for me.
It is truly is. I love you. I love everybody. I love you, Erin.
I
Have
love
a
you.
wonderful, wonderful, wonderful night.